Hello, once again, NASCAR fans. You're listening to the NASCAR Show here on The Grueling Truth, where legends speak. I'm your host, Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley. We're going to go over the race at Dover, as well as some other news. We're going to talk about Bubba Wallace and what Jason Whitlock had to say there, and including some other fun news. All right, let's get started. Martin Truex Jr. winning on a postponed Dover race. The race was moved to Monday due to rain, and funny enough, this is also the same situation how Martin Truex Jr. got his first career Cup win back in 2007 when he drove for DEI. That race was postponed to Monday, and he ended up winning. Alex Bowman was second, Kyle Larson third. Huge day for Chevrolet. Much better performances. Kevin Harvick fourth, Chase Elliott fifth, Eric Jones sixth, Joey Logano seventh, and rounding out the top 10, William Byron, Clint Boyer, and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, I believe, has tied Morgan Shepherd for, I believe, the best or like the most consecutive top 10s at the start of the season or something like that.
Yeah, it was 11. I think it's his 11th top 10 finish in 11 races this year, so he's been in the top 10 throughout, which is pretty good effort on his part, getting that accomplished. Dover. Actually, frankly, truthfully, I kind of like Monday races because Monday is always such a monotonous, boring day. Nothing goes on, and there's always plenty of other sports with the NBA going on and hockey going on and other things to do. Generally, you'll have an F1 race, or now you've got IndyCar spending the month in Indianapolis. So there's plenty of stuff to watch on Sunday. So if you get the Monday race thrown in, it was kind of a bonus. We got to sit and watch it. I watched it live, starting at 9 o'clock out here, which is kind of nice. NASCAR in bed. Really wasn't in bed because I had to do another show at 9 o'clock with Mike Goodpasture. So, but we belong to the Grueling Truth, and once again, talk about this aero package, Alex, because I thought it was a grueling, boring race. Not much is happening with this. This aero package making these cars too stable, too easy to control and drive, and taking a lot of the mix-up out of it. I mean, there were virtually no real genuine wrecks, and you don't go into it. But generally on a track like Dover or Richmond or Bristol, our three short tracks we've run this year. We run Martinsville. Yeah, we ran Martinsville too.
Yeah.
So really no calamity in any of those races. You pretty much always expect calamity in those races. You kind of always expect a couple drivers getting out and wanting to have a serious discussion about driving skills, and you just haven't seen that at all at any of these short track races. Is the aero package just too good, or is it not right for every track?
I think so far the aero package has worked in some cases. Like, I thought it worked at Texas. It definitely worked at Talladega. I have a feeling it could work at Kansas, but I just don't think this package is fitting for Bristol or Martinsville or Phoenix or Dover, the tracks that are pretty much about under a mile. And it's because, and some drivers have said it, a lot of drivers have spoke out about it, and especially Kyle Busch. We'll get to that in a little bit. I don't like that the horsepower has been lowered to 550. I think that made the cars really stable. Who knows? Maybe it's saving these teams a lot of money with the fewer wrecks that we've had this season.
I guess it is. Yeah, economically, it makes sense. But
I
don't care about the economics in NASCAR. I mean, that's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is to see what I'm used to seeing, good old boys having at it. And all of a sudden now we got corporate suits being polite and politically correct. And I don't know if that's not damaging NASCAR to some degree or taking away some of the charm and personality of the sport and making the sport actually kind of boring to watch. And Monday I watched the race pretty much in its entirety. I often don't do that. I generally tape a race, and I forward through things. And, if I see a long stretch where nothing's going on, it's like, I'm going to watch these guys for 50 laps, just wait for another fuel window to open up and just turn left 4 times every 25 seconds. So I'll fast forward through it. But, this race I watched entirely, and I'm like thinking, man, is this thing ever going to end? Or is somebody going to do something here and honk somebody off or get in somebody's fender or rub a little bit or anything? And basically all the cautions was a competition caution, a stage caution, or somebody blew a tire or scraped the wall. And, you're back to guys running 4 and 5 seconds apart. There was no real pressure on anybody to do anything. Although I will give Martin Truex credit. He failed inspection, started at the rear of the pack, and drove his Toyota all the way up to the win. I think you mentioned that this is the second time he's won in a rain delay, so Martin ought to be doing a rain dance every Sunday. If I was him. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I'm liking this aero package that much if the cars are becoming that stuck to the ground, that much ground effects, putting them down there, putting the downforce on them so they don't wiggle. It started on a green track. It was all the rain they'd had on Sunday, and still no slip sliding away. They rubbered the track in real good because it was concrete, and concrete chews on the tires a lot more than asphalt does. So they got the tracks rubbered down. Everybody seemed to want to start on the outside, but still a lot of guys run low on the inside. Elliott, when he led the most laps of anybody, and he clung to the inside and stayed down low. As soon as he started on top to get that run coming off the turn, he dove right to the bottom and stayed there and became very hard to pass and pulled away. I mean, he got caught up in some traffic with a 4-tire stop, and a lot of guys made a 2-tire stop. And there again, because of the stability of these cars, he really got no opportunity to fight his way back up to the front. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at...
Come on, don't be politically correct. Speak
I'm not going to be politically... Well, I'm not going to be politically correct because I sure know Kyle Busch wasn't. I think, if something needs to be said. Just, what I mean. But anyway, as I said before, this aero package, and it's temporary too. With the Gen 7 coming out in 2021, they're going to test some potential aspects at the All-Star race. I think they're going to keep tweaking around with it and see what they can do. But yeah, the cars are just a little too stable, in my opinion. Let them race. I got no problem with that at all.
Well, Alex, let me ask you a question. At the expense of the fans who are paying large amounts of money to get into the track, to buy hot dogs, to buy warm beer, watered down Cokes, to park your RVs, which is expensive, shouldn't they be experimenting with this off season and testing and things like that, and getting these aero packages down and putting 15, 20, 25 cars on a track in off season and saying, let's run the aero package and let's see what it does in a group. We're going to do a 100-lap test here. Shouldn't they be working on this stuff off season and not doing and tweaking things during the season? Which now it's at my expense.
Yeah, I know I know they tested it at Las Vegas before the start of the season. They brought in about 15 or 20 cars, and they ran like 3 different sessions and everything, just kind of playing around with it. I know back when I was a kid, NASCAR could go to test sessions. For example, I know that Kentucky Speedway, before they even held the Cup Series, the Cup Series would go and test there a lot. I don't think that's an issue. I think they should at least try and maybe test it a bit more to make sure it's going to work. And I know it's hard. It's a 36-week schedule, and you don't have that long of an off season. Before you know it, after the checker flag drops at Homestead, soon to be Phoenix, it's we turn right back around and go to Daytona. Now, of course, there's I think they did away with that again, because they used to do the January testing at Daytona, and then the recession came, they got rid of it, and then they kind of brought it back, and I think it went away. That may not be a bad idea either, or perhaps, in January, go to Homestead, then go to Kentucky, then go to Bristol maybe and see how it works, and then go to Daytona. I'm not necessarily sure, but honestly, NASCAR just needs to fix it here. If you want me to quote Kyle Busch and what he said, I can.
2 words.
Yeah, he said, quote, "The package sucks. No explicit question about it. It's terrible. All I can do is beep about it and fall on deaf ears, and we'll come back with the same thing in the fall." He told the NASCAR Home Tracks reporter Davey Segal on this looks like this was on For the Win Racing on USA Today Sports. "I thought we were off as a program, but obviously the number 19 won the race, so that's not the case. It'd be nice to win more, run better, lead laps. This was a real bad weekend for us." And, you know, obviously Kyle Busch is a guy who wants to win. He loves winning. And I can see where he's coming from in this case.
Well, Busch is like the modern version of Earnhardt.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. You know, I mean, you're never going to replace a Dale Earnhardt, and all the people out there that listen to this. I'm not advocating that in any way, shape, or form, because there was one Dale Earnhardt. There'll never be another. But if you look at anybody that you would say who's racing right now that would emulate Earnhardt the most in this world of NASCAR, in this era, it would be Kyle Busch. You know, he races hard. He races to win, not to finish. He doesn't care. He'll push his equipment as much as he needs to win. He'll be on his crew to make changes. He'll be on himself to make changes. And, you know, he's got some of the best equipment out there. He's got Toyota's full support, and he wins. He's the winningest driver in NASCAR, in the last 10 years, I think, isn't he? Does anybody want more races than him? Yeah. I mean, he's over 200 wins totally in the whole NASCAR series between trucks, Xfinity, and there's only 2 drivers that have ever done that. That's him and Petty that have won. So certainly his voice should be heard. Before we get into some other things, you know, in leaving Dover, which was a big disappointment for me because, you know, it's their one chance to run on concrete. It generally changes characteristics. You generally see some action. Some banging and bumping, and I get the fact that you don't want to tear up equipment because it is expensive, but you know, you talked about a short off season. Alex, you just graduated from college. You're going to go out and find work, something. You ain't going to get an off season.
Yeah.
You're going to get 2 weeks paid vacation after you've been there for a year. First year, you'll just work for 52 weeks. So I don't buy this fact that these guys, you know, have to have an off season. You know, they're as pampered and catered to as anybody, and it's a hard job to drive those cars, no doubt about it. But this crap about off seasons to me is like, no, you need to be perfecting your sport and putting a better product on the track for the spectators if you want to keep your attendance and get your attendance back up and keep your television ratings anywhere near the sponsorship's going to want to be a part of your program. So if they need to be out testing these things in the off season and getting this aero package right, they shouldn't be dilly-dallying with it at the All-Star race, because basically the All-Star race is the celebration of mid-season of all the, you know, the great drivers coming in, the pre-race, the Elliott will get in. Well, Elliott's already earned his way in now because he's got to win, doesn't he? He's already in, I think.
Yeah.
We didn't have to take the most popular driver entry as he's done the last couple of years. But I don't know that I think they should be testing new aero packages at the All-Star race. So, and now we come into Kansas, which I believe is our first mile, our true, what I would call true boring 1.5-mile track. I think Vegas is 1.5 miles, but Vegas is a fast track, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Texas is what? Is Texas a 2-mile track or 1.5 miles?
1.5 miles.
1.5 miles. So, but those are I-banked 1.5 mile tracks that don't really react like Kansas, which Kansas, Chicago, and maybe even Auto Club are more flat 1.5 mile tracks where you end up almost invariably Saturday night. You're going to see somebody out in front by 6 or 7 seconds, second place ahead of the third place car by 6 or 7 seconds, and the 10th place car about ready to be lapped. And then somebody will throw a caution at that point to make sure that the 10th place car doesn't get lapped. So the real test for this aero package is, because I think this is what it was designed for, was to stop the parades at these flat 1.5 mile tracks like Chicago and Kansas City and probably, you know, Auto Club as well out in California. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, we're coming out here now. Are we going to see a good race? Is aero package going to step up and do its job here?
I think it's a possibility for a track like Kansas or Kentucky.
Well, I think anything's a possibility.
Yeah. To me, I'm just going to have to wait and see what happens. You know, I've seen this aero package react differently on the different types of tracks. You know, Kansas to me is a D-shaped oval with a little lesser banking, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. I'd rather see it before I say something, even though I'd like to make a prediction. I don't think much will change. You'll probably have your dominant cars, the 19, the 18, the 22, the 2, the SHR cars. Perhaps Chevy can continue their strong runs, maybe the 9 or the 88, or the 1 can hop in, the 42. Great finish there at Dover. Perhaps he could follow that up again at Kansas. We'll see.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I thought the Spacers did their job at Talladega.
Oh, they did.
They kept the bunch together, but yet they allowed for drafting. They allowed for bump drafting. We didn't see the tandem that we thought we'd see, tandem racing, but we did see good bump drafting, and we didn't see the car space out, taking away the restrictor plates. Should they be running the spacers at every track to just kind of keep people together?
I would say maybe, because I know before the spacers came, the Xfinity race ran the restrictor plates at Indianapolis, and that made things a bit interesting. Perhaps maybe you could try that at the tracks like Auto Club, Indy, Michigan, Pocono. I don't expect pack racing at every track. It's impossible, unless maybe you play the NASCAR computer game. That's pretty popular, NR 2003.
So why is it impossible? Why is it impossible?
I don't know. To me, it depends on the track. Obviously, I don't think you'll be able to see pack racing at Bristol, but I think you could.
But you don't need it. You're compacted at Bristol. You got a half-mile track. I mean, you don't need pack racing. You're compacted. 10 laps into that, you've got the leader lapping cars, and now you've got virtually 3/4 of that surface covered with a NASCAR at any given time, anywhere you go around that track.
Yeah, I would say that definitely, if you want to use the spacers at other tracks, I would highly recommend Indianapolis, Michigan, Auto Club, and Pocono, because those are the bigger 2-mile tracks. Yeah, those. And
certainly, Indy doesn't lend itself at all to pack racing at all. Indy's probably the worst track they run on, truthfully. And I'm from Indianapolis, and I love the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but that track is not laid out for NASCARs. It's just the fact that the NASCAR's running there. It's the Brickyard. It's a prestigious facility, and it's still in their top 5, what they call their top 5 most important races of the year to win. But it's not without. I would love to see an experiment with spacers there. Level out the horsepower with everybody, level out the aero package, and see if you can get these cars to line up together, and at least get an aura of some pack racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, even if it's only going to be done at 160, because really, I think the average qualifying speed at Indy is right around 165 to 170, isn't it? I mean, the turns are so flat that those cars are too heavy to take around those turns, and you actually literally there have 4 corners, because you have a short chute in between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So, it's a very difficult track to pass on, to get by anybody. And actually, they probably run just as fast, if not faster, at Dover as they do at Indianapolis, because Dover's banked all the way around the track. So, I think this is a real test. I think Kansas City is going to be the first real test for this aero package. I think this is what it was designed to do, was to stop the parades at these 1.5 miles. It's my opinion. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. It's a Saturday night race, which I love Saturday night races. You can grill out, cook out, and watch the race.
I won't lie. I love that Kansas runs on a Saturday night in May. I don't know why. I love it. It's beautiful.
I wish more races were on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Sunday's a tough day. You got church. If you go to church, you got gardening you want to do. You got other activities, people to see. Sunday generally is a day where, unless it's like a Talladega or a Daytona, I'll probably DVR the race and pick it up and watch it later on in the day, try and stay on social media and watch the race at a little later point in the day after we've done all the things we want to do. In our case, we're 20 miles from the Pacific Ocean. We take our dogs to the beach, things like that, or I'll go play golf in the course of the day. So, but I would love to see NASCAR run more Saturday night races. I think it's easier on the people that attend the races, especially the guys with the RVs. They got Sunday to travel home and get back at it. And if you have a rain delay, you're not running on a Monday, you're running on a Sunday then. So, but there's a formula for that, I'm sure. Anything else on Dover? They gave away a cool trophy. It was a gold trophy.
Yeah, the golden Dover Monster.
Golden Dover Monster, yeah, with the number 19 car in it now. So that was good. kudos to Truex for driving all the way through. I mean, it shows it can be done with a good driver. So that being said, any closure on Dover you want to talk about?
As of right now, I don't have anything to talk about with Dover, but there was one announcement made for the Coca-Cola 600 coming up. Bob Pockris tweeted this earlier. So what they're going to do is at the end of Stage 2 of the Coca-Cola 600, NASCAR will bring the cars down pit road, and the race will stop briefly as part of a Memorial Day weekend tribute to honor military members who died serving. They did this similar in the 2008 Coca-Cola 600.
Yeah, well, nobody does that better than NASCAR. Nobody pays more attention to the military service and Americana, and I believe it's always heartfelt. I believe NASCAR knows where its roots are, and I always applauded NASCAR. And every time you see the jets fly over with the flyby, you get a little teary-eyed or choked up to some degree, and think it's an awesome sight. And I've been to Indianapolis enough times to see the planes fly over, and it's an awesome sight. But I tell you, if you ever done it live, it's loud. It's not anything you want to be at war at when a bunch of those things are coming at you, and they're coming at you to shoot you, not just fly over and be ceremonial. It is a lot of noise when those planes fly over. You think the cars are loud. Those 3 or 4 jets that come over make a lot of noise. Anything with Kansas that we should look for? The aero package?
Yeah, definitely the aero package. Perhaps if we could see the Chevy teams continuing to continue their good results here to Talladega and then on to Dover. I feel like the win by Chase Elliott really helped them put themselves in the right direction finally. So perhaps we could finally see some more Chevrolet competition from there. I want to point out something involving the truck race coming up. Only 28 trucks are entered instead of like normally 32. Some people have talked about this on Twitter. DJ Kopp, who's a retired tire changer, former NASCAR analyst, and owner of a part-time truck team, kind of called out the spec motor that they use in the truck series, when basically tweeting, anyone remember when the spec motor was supposed to help costs? Pointing out to the entry list right now that have 28 trucks. A couple of them withdrew because of sponsorship, like the 30 truck. But that's pretty much the only thing I can point out.
Alex, is this something that they tend to run trucks on Friday night, Xfinity on Saturday, and then Cup on Sunday? Should they look at considering saying we're going to run Xfinity on Saturday night and we're going to run truck Sunday morning?
Actually,
run truck on Sunday morning and then run the Cup Sunday afternoon. Do a doubleheader on Sunday, so people aren't spending 3 nights at a hotel. You come in and you run a Saturday night race when they're all running at the same facility, which is more often than not. But run Xfinity Saturday night and get people going. They come in Saturday. They lose a day of travel. They don't have to take on Friday and stay somewhere. So they come in and then you run your Xfinity Saturday night. You get up Sunday morning, and let's say if the race starts at 1 o'clock, at 9 o'clock or 9:30, you start a 150-lap truck race, kind of a warm-up to everybody. You get people in the stands more. Maybe they're buying concessions and souvenirs more on that day, and maybe it bolsters the attendance for the truck race. Sponsors get happy because now they're running on the same day as the Cup race. And I think that if they were doing that at Indy, I probably would want to get there for all the ceremonies and everything. I'd want to be there. Or even if it was at Auto Club Speedway, which is about a half hour to 45 minutes from my home out here in California, I might say, if it's one day, let's just get there and go do it.
Yeah, I personally feel like, for example, because I know my dad and I even talked about that same exact idea, like what if you ran the Xfinity race on Friday night at Kentucky, and then 12 p.m. you dropped the green flag for the truck race, then you got your Cup race in the evening. As a matter of fact, if you have a Cup ticket, you can basically get into the truck race for free because same the Cup day, why not? It's going to increase I can't speak today. Increasing the attendance.
College grad. That's what happens when you become a college grad. You lose all faculties when you get your degree.
Pretty much. I'm graduating here in how many days now?
You're already graduated. You're just going through the ceremonies.
True. Finish up finals week. That's all.
Yeah, you got to. That's good. But I think that's. I'm sure they've toyed with the idea of that. You're right. Just buy a ticket for Sunday, and you get the truck race and the cup race. And the truck races are very exciting. I mean, the truck races are kind of like hockey. They're kind of all over the place. You know, those aren't the best equipment to be running. And as far as the bodies of those things really aren't as aerostable as the cars, obviously, for whatever reason. But you get some excitement. What do they normally run a truck race? 150 laps? 100 laps?
Yeah, like somewhere between 220, 225, 250 miles.
Yeah, depending on the length of the track. So, you know, but I think that's something that would compact the weekend a little bit, probably put a little more pizzazz, maybe bring some more people in on Sunday. Because truck's got its own following. I get that too. So if you pair that up and you say, hey, maybe jack your ticket price up $10, $15, and say you're getting two races for one. Mm-hmm. And just do a Saturday night doubleheader on Sunday and get out of there. Good idea. Yeah. So you and I are geniuses. We should be running NASCAR. All right, let's talk about some teams here that are in the spotlight. Let's start off with Hendrick.
Yes.
They're all of a sudden looking racy. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, 17th place finish was the worst. And from there, you've got the rest of the boys, you know, Bowman. What am I looking at, results or standings? These are standings. Okay. What are the results? I got standings up. What are the results? I think you had Bowman finishing second.
Bowman was second.
Elliott finishing fifth.
Byron was eighth. Johnson was 14th.
Okay, so you've got, all of a sudden now, Hendrick's starting to look a little racy. Are they getting it down? Are they figuring things out with the Chevrolet body package?
I think they might be figuring it out, especially that they perform like this that's not Daytona or Talladega, which is a good sign. Alex Bowman, he was fast. Like, he was flying through the field. I was so amazed by that. William Byron stayed up front a lot. Of course, he started in the front row, finished eighth. Great run for him. He's definitely been doing a lot better this season. Kyle Larson for Chip Ganassi. I know we're talking about Hendrick, but he finished third.
Let's stay with Hendrick right now, because we'll get to Ganassi in a minute. I had some thoughts on Ganassi too. Let's just stay with Hendrick right now. You know, they only got one win out of Elliott, but Bowman has finished second twice now and had really legitimate opportunities to win both races. Had that race, Talladega, not gone yellow, I'm not so sure that Bowman wouldn't have been able to get out around him. He was going to have help behind him. I guarantee you, who was in third in that race?
Ryan
Blaney?
Preece.
Ryan Preece. Okay, and there's a kid who's got nothing to lose. So if Bowman was going to go, whoever was in third was going to go with Bowman. That was going to be the only chance to win. So, you know, me being a Elliott fan, I'm glad it went yellow. But I honestly tell you, I'm not sure it would have stayed that way had that race stayed green for the last three-quarters of that lap around Talladega. I don't know how strong Elliott's car was. But suffice to say, I think NASCAR needs to have Hendrick back in the sport. They're the flagship team for Chevrolet. And I think it's good that they're doing it. Jimmy Johnson, you know, he continues to be an enigma. He's got as good as equipment as anybody, but he just can't get himself in the top 10 very often. And I don't know. I don't know if just the luster wears off after a point in time and you start getting other entities in your life and other things that take your time away from your focus and concentration. But, I mean, do you see Johnson winning again this year? He's gone, like 500 races or something? How long? No, 500 days without winning?
Well, something along the lines of that. I do believe that perhaps Jimmy Johnson is on a decline as a race car driver, and I still believe that he retires after the end of 2020 when his contract ends. Maybe perhaps he sneaks in a win somewhere, but Texas, it looked like he was showing something. He led like the first 50 or 60 laps, finished in fifth. I was like, hey, there we go. And then it's just kind of like, since then, I mean, he's outside the cut line in the playoffs at 17th.
Yeah, he tends to make mental mistakes.
Yeah, the entire time the playoffs have been around since 2004. Johnson has made it in every year. So this could be the first. And I
believe he'll make it this year. I believe he'll get himself into the playoffs this year. I believe he's going to sneak a win in somewhere. Yeah. It's kind of like I I say that it's easy to say now that it happened, but I was always a proponent of saying, all you people that think Tiger Woods is never going to win a major again are nuts. There's too much talent there, and everybody's like, he's done, he's washed up, he's never going to win again, and now he's odds-on favorite to win the PGA coming up next weekend.
Yeah.
So Bethpage is, of course, set up for him, but this is not the golf show. This is NASCAR. So I think Johnson will win again, but I don't know that he'll ever be a factor for a championship again. And I don't know that if I'm disappointed in that or okay with that. I think 7's a good number. I think to set himself down on Mount Rushmore alongside of Earnhardt and Petty and Jimmy Johnson, I think it's fine with me. And all of them just kind of keep it there and make that still the number to beat. And I don't know there's anybody will beat it ever again because there's so much parity and competition right now that it's not like those days where, Earnhardt and Petty, especially Petty, then especially Earnhardt, where they just had dominant equipment, dominant sponsorship. Johnson had faced more parity than the other two combined. But now I think the parity for a guy like Kyle Busch is somebody who you could think. But really, Kyle's what? Kyle's in his mid-30s, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's only won one championship.
I think
Gordon had won 4 by now, and he couldn't get there.
Yeah.
So he retired shortly after that, too. So, anyway. All right. The surprise to me, Stewart-Haas. They have not won a race yet. They're 11 races into this, and they've got quality equipment. Their former driver, well, no, that's not true either because Truex didn't drive for them. He drove for Furnace Row. They have not won a race yet. Are you surprised by that?
I'm a bit surprised. I thought maybe one of their drivers would at least get a win by now, especially with Kevin Harvick. Obviously, at this point last year, Kevin Harvick had won already like 4 races, and then he won at Kansas. He's 3rd in points. Quint Boyer, Eric Almirola, 10th and 11th, and then 12th is Daniel Suarez. So Suarez has actually done pretty decent going into the season with a 41 team. I still believe that eventually Harvick will get some wins. I can see Quint Boyer getting a win. I see Daniel Suarez even getting a win at some point. I think it's only a matter of time, really, until a Stewart-Haas car gets into victory lane. I think it's possible this coming weekend.
Yeah, and you've got in the standings, you've got 14th, 10th, 11th, and 12th in the regular standings, not the playoff standings. You've got Almirola, Suarez, and Boyer, and then of course you got Harvick up in 3rd. Now these are the regular standings; these aren't the playoff standings.
Yeah,
you drop Harvick out of that because he has not won a race yet. So Elliott and Keselowski and Truex all slide up one because they've all got wins and they're automatically locked in. Yeah, I expect, truthfully, and when we make our predictions here at the end of the show, I'm going to predict the Stewart-Haas car wins this weekend. And we'll talk about that as we wrap up. But they're long overdue. I think they have too good of equipment. They're running Ford, which has pretty well been the dominant car this year over Toyota. And Chevy's coming into its own, but it's not quite there yet. The tracks they've won on or performed well have been specialty tracks, either short tracks or the super speedways. We're getting into the crux now of the 1.5 miles, things like that. So we'll see what Chevy's done with the aero package on that end. The third team I want to talk about, and I think we have mixed feelings on this between you and I, is Ganassi Racing.
Mm-hmm.
And they have two talented drivers. Larson and Kurt Busch both are, Busch is a former champion. Larson is probably underachieving tremendously right now. When's the last time he won a race? He didn't win at all last year, did he?
Richmond of 2017, right before the playoffs, was the first time last time that Kyle Larson had won. And he went off.
That's a pretty long drought for him, too. And what's perceived as pretty good equipment. They're running Chevy, which that's been a little bit of struggle for all the Chevy drivers, but other Chevy drivers are starting to succeed now. And get in the hunt at least, or put some wins on the board. It's the Hendrick cars, but what do you make of Ganassi?
I always believe that Ganassi was just right underneath the powerhouse teams. They're up there, but they're just like right underneath Hendrick and Penske, Stewart-Haas, and Gibbs. Kurt Busch has been far and away impressive driving that one car. He's driven the wheels off of that car. Kyle Larson has just it just seems like something goes wrong for him every week, especially with the flip at Talladega. But he did get third at Dover, which finally that was his first top 5 of the year. You hope that perhaps this could be a turnaround point, especially, Kyle Larson always is a favorite to win at a track like Michigan, which will come up in June. He nearly won Chicagoland last year in that amazing slide job finish with Kyle Busch. Man, that was a good show. But, with Ganassi, I think Kurt Busch gets a win. I'm kind of iffy on Kyle Larson right now. Maybe he gets a win. I really don't know yet because Dover was just one race.
I agree with you. I think this. I think that Ganassi's equipment is just for some reason, maybe it's their engineers or whatever, just not as reliable as Hendrick.
Like inconsistent?
Yeah, they're inconsistent. I mean, something always seems to malfunction with Ganassi or with Ganassi cars, and predominantly it falls on Kyle's shoulders. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Kurt Busch because he's on a 1-year contract, and I thought that he would be racing to win every race. And I think he's driving well and he's doing well. He's 8th in points, but I haven't really seen him contend for a win yet. Have you?
Kurt Busch, I haven't really.
Yeah.
Again,
no.
He's been up there, but he just hasn't. He hasn't been leading a lot of laps. He's been up there though.
Yeah, he's been up there in the mix, and I think that's because of his driving talent. But for some reason, I just have this feeling that somewhere along the line, Ganassi equipment is just 1 to 2 horsepower off, 3 to 4 or 5 horsepower off the rest of the car. But that's just a measure. I say, you're just a notch below the Hendrick cars, the SHR cars, the JGR cars, and probably right in line with the RCR cars. Although I think they're a little better than the RCR cars, but then I think they have better driving talent than RCR does too. I don't think RCR really has a real bona fide good driver anymore. I mean, Ryan Newman's pretty well faded back into obscurity for the most part. I mean, he'll have flashes of brilliance occasionally. The other guys there, they're there and they have their moments, and they're predominantly built on a super speedway principle. That's where Earnhardt dominated when he was with RCR so much. I think they stayed true to that. But, Ganassi's kind of an enigma to me because I think they got great talent. I think both drivers are two of the better drivers in the circuit. But for some reason, their cars just don't seem to – they get up in the mix, but they can't bust out of the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. But anything else we need to cover? We went out this longer than I thought we would, which is usual because we could talk NASCAR all day.
Yeah, it's good conversation.
Anything else we missed? Any penalties or anything that came down? I didn't hear of any penalties at all.
I didn't hear of any penalties either for Dover, so no penalties there. Nothing really big to talk about. I want to point out that Christopher Bell won the Xfinity race at Dover. Once again, Christopher Bell, absolute superstar in the making.
He'll be running in the Cup next year, I'm sure. Somebody's going to snag him up.
Actually, yeah. I was watching a YouTuber by the name of The Iceberg. He does a lot of like little NASCAR discussion videos, and he talked about that. Of course, the NASCAR Cup teams have this 4-car limit. Back then, you saw Hendrick and Roush run 5 cars.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: should NASCAR, if teams like Hendrick, Stewart-Haas, and Gibbs have the funding, should they allow them to run 5 full-time cars again and have more 40-car fields? Because where the heck is Christopher Bell going to go next year?
Yeah, I definitely think they should. I see no reason why not to. I mean, don't tell me they're going to get any more engineering specs out of a 5th car that they get out of 4.
And, of course,
I mean, if you want to balance it, then say you can only run 2 cars because that's basically what most of the lower-end teams run, 1 or 2 cars. One car operation or 2. I think RCR's, they're running, 3 cars or 2 cars?
RCR, they currently run 2 cars. By the way,
yeah.
Tyler Reddick will run a 3rd car at Kansas.
Who?
Tyler Reddick. Defending champion.
For who? Who's he going to race for?
He's racing for Richard Childress, the 31.
Okay, he's going to run a third car with Childress. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would have no problem with going back to 5 cars. Like I said, I don't think that the advantage gained with a 5th car in terms of collecting data and things like that is as important as getting more cars on the track, trying to bring more sponsors in the sport, and making holes for good young drivers without bumping out, like, say, a Ryan Newman, who's a guy that could be in jeopardy. You know, you look at somebody like that, you know he's commanding a pretty hefty price tag to drive. And he's really not been that productive. He's won maybe 1 or 2 races in the last couple of years, if he's won that. So, yeah, they're going to find holes for the Christopher Bells of the world. And they need to, because they need to keep sport young and healthy and bring new talent in. We're going through a lot of transition right now. You know, we're probably going to lose Johnson in a couple of years. We just lost Gordon. We lost Earnhardt. You look at the drivers we've lost. Matt Kenseth, a lot of big-name names. You know, they're quitting at early years. They're being forced out, one or the other.
Yeah.
So I'm all for running 5 cars. I don't see a problem with it at all. Safeties were winning all the time anyway. It doesn't really matter, but I think it's more healthy for the sport the more cars you put on the track.
Yeah, and the reason why they had the 4-car rule was because when the recession hit, they were trying to, of course, save back on costs and everything. But I think now, it's all right now. I think teams, you know, can be allowed to run 5 cars. So, you know, Christopher Bell can run a 5th JGR car.
Right.
Noah Gragson can run a 5th Hendrick car, or Cole Cussler can drive a 5th Stewart-Haas car. I think it's fine now. I think NASCAR should look into something like that.
Do you think that Earnhardt Jr. Ever elevates to an affiliate program with Hendrick and puts a car in Cup? Do you think he ever goes that route?
Well, I know Junior's been asked that quite a few times, and I don't know if he's that interested. Obviously, that could change. I know he's talked about what potential one-off in the Daytona 500 or something, you know. I would never say never. Maybe Junior changes his mind. Maybe he sees the right opportunity and goes, okay, I'll open up a Cup car, you know, because I think it's only a matter of time for you. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, he would do the same affiliate that I think Blaney does with Penske, doesn't he? Isn't he an affiliate with Penske?
Well, yeah, now he's at Penske. Wood Brothers.
No, he's at Penske. Okay. Yeah, who's running an affiliate cars right now? Anybody? Who is Menard with? Who's Menard with?
Wood Brothers.
Okay, but that's an affiliate with Penske.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's Penske's 4th car right there, basically, is the Wood Brothers car. So I would think that if it's ever going to happen, it's probably going to be run as a 1-car team as an affiliate to Hendrick, and Hendrick will supply the equipment, the power plant, and the facilities, all the training. All he would have to do is build a Cup car that would be built basically by Hendrick, and then Little E's just got to go out and get sponsorship. And I think if anybody in NASCAR can get sponsorship right now, it would be Little E.
Oh, Junior can use. Yeah, I think Junior can attract sponsorship because I know a lot of drivers these days. You know, they call them, what are they? The pay drivers that, you know, they're, you know, oh, this driver got a ride because, you know, his dad's the whatever.
Menard. You know, Menard was doing that. You know, because John Menard owned Menards, which is one of the largest hardware stores in the country. Yeah, and for the longest of time, he got into the sport because Menard sponsored his car, so anybody'd take him. No, you kidding me? He's a cash cow. He comes in with full sponsorship. Everything's paid for. Yeah, we'll take him, even though he couldn't drive. He's learned to drive. I mean, you know, Menard's a respectable driver. Now, he's won the Brickyard. And, you know, he's learned to drive his car. So I know when he first came in, it was, you know, Daddy's got money, so Junior wants to go have a hobby and go NASCAR racing. But I think he gained respect and changed that pretty quickly. So I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love talking about that, but honestly, more sponsors into the sport, I like it. Not to mention, like,
I agree entirely.
Yeah, Menards even had their own open wheel team, Team Menard. Tony Stewart, I think, drove for them.
Oh, no, they were in IndyCar long before they ever got into NASCAR. I mean, they only got into NASCAR because Paul wanted to run NASCAR.
Yeah, and I know they ran.
He didn't want to run open wheel. He didn't like open wheel, So he moved over to NASCAR, and, you know, his dad came with the money. And actually now Menard sponsors Blaney's car.
Yeah, Menards is really and even Penske's Xfinity cars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, they still have Ford Motorcraft sponsoring the Wood Brothers car, so that's taken care of. Mm-hmm. So Menard threw his money into Penske and runs Blaney's car. It's odd for me to see Blaney running the Menard's car because I'm so used to Paul Menard being in it. And every time I do a double take, there's the 12 car. Oh, it's not Menard. That's Blaney running that car. Menard's running the 21 car.
Right.
So anyway, all right. Well, you want to make are we done with everything? You want to make your picks for Sunday? Let me write mine down.
Yeah. Saturday. Yeah, let's make our picks.
Saturday? You want me to go first or you want to go first?
You can go on ahead.
All right. I'm going to go with a SHR car, and I think Harvick is pissed off he has not won yet. I think he's hungry. I think the Fords perform well in these mile-and-a-half tracks. And I just think Harvick is he's tired of sitting on the outside. He'll get in. There's no doubt he's going to win multiple races this year. There's no doubt. But I think he's sick and tired of not being told, you know, he's one of the already qualified drivers. I don't think he likes that at all. So I'm going to go with Harvick to win. And my dark horse is still going to be Chase Elliott. I think the Chevys are coming. I think Chase is exerting himself and learning how to drive on all the tracks. I think he's gaining some respect from a lot of the drivers of not just being the most popular driver. They got to deal with him now. And I'm going to go with Elliott as my dark horse. So same picks I made last week. I did pretty well. Both of them finished high. But I think Harvick was third or fourth. And Chase was fifth. So my two drivers did well. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an SHR car too. But I'm gonna mix it up a bit. You got Harvick. I'm gonna go with Eric Almirola because that 10 car shows speed on mile-and-a-half tracks. It has. He came awfully close to winning quite a few of them last year. Now, obviously, it would be an excellent turnaround if he won this race, considering what happened to him at this race 2 years ago. So I'm going to pick Eric Almirola to win. Harvick's definitely going to be one of my favorites. And as for a dark horse, Alex Bowman finished second the last two races. You never know. He could have a powerful push and put that 88 back into victory lane.
That's a good pick. I mean, I'm probably betting more with my heart with Elliott, but Bowman's ready to bust out. I mean, I think the Hendrick cars are strong or getting stronger. And I think that Bowman and Elliott are strong drivers, strong young drivers or aggressive drivers. And I think that's a great pick. Almirola, I don't know about. I think Harvick's going to win before Almirola, but that's just me.
Yeah. But we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, good picks. All right. You want to get us out of here?
Yep. All right, guys. So be sure to check out the Kansas race. Oh, by the way, I want to mention one more thing. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but Busch Beer, they revealed this paint scheme that Kevin Harvick's going to run.
Yeah, what's that all about? I saw that. I kind of saw the dilly-dallying. What's going on with that?
All right, so Busch Beer back at Homestead last year. Kevin Harvick's in the championship for. The old guys are going to rule again at Homestead. Kevin Harvick's going to win the championship. We got this, and if we don't, they made a bet with themselves. They said, we will run this millennial stereotype-themed car with all the weird quotes we make now and the emojis and whatever. Harvick with championship. So now, and die-casts are being sold at this, and I want one because it's funny, and I think it's funny that Busch is actually doing this. So Kevin Harvick at the All-Star race, in which he simply said, a bet is a bet, he will run this millennial-themed car with all the emojis and all the funny quotes that us young people love to say, like lit and Busch AF. You're probably wanting to puke at me saying that stuff, but that's what's going down, and I'm looking forward. And I hope that car wins just for the sake of it.
Well, you know it's guaranteed to win now because that car's coming into Victory Circle now. He's going to have to deal with it in Victory Circle. There you go.
Oh, man. I'm looking forward to what Mike Joy and those guys are going to say in the booth.
Yeah. They'll have fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be on the horn. They'll be on the horn to Harvick. So.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to talk about that. I really want to point that out. Okay.
We're good. We got it in.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this week's NASCAR show here on the Grueling Truth Where Legends Speak. Looking forward to Kansas this weekend. We'll be back next week to talk about Kansas and whatever else has broken out in the NASCAR world. Thank you guys so much for listening. From Steve Risley and myself, Alex Gray, we're signing off. We'll see you next time.